Once again with my good friend LarryJohnson. Hola, Larry, ¿cómo estás?
Hey, we're in a new shirt. Some fan from Australia sent this to one of the other podcasters for me, and he forwarded it to me. So you got the kangaroos with the palm trees.
That's a nice T-shirt, a new one.
Draw me kangaroo down, boy.
Have you ever seen that video? I think it's the most hilarious, fantastic video on the internet, where a guy finds his dog held by a kangaroo, and he goes there and fights the kangaroo and punches the kangaroo on the face.
I haven't seen that.
I will find that and I'll send you.
Kangaroos can be a little pesky.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a huge kangaroo. Even the kangaroo became famous at the time because it was muscle, built up like. That was awesome. That's the best video on the internet from all times.
All right.
Did you have the chance or time to check that movie that I recommended last week?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Been busy.
I see you every day somewhere. By the way, Danny Davis been on Tucker, right?
Yeah, he did a good job. Glad that Tucker, had him on to talk about Ukraine. Yeah. A couple of disasters unfolding. Trump's control over international affairs is not quite like what his control over domestic affairs.
Yes.
So,
yes. I've been trying to analyze Trump because it's yesterday I wrote a shitter, a shoast. I don't know how to call it anymore. A shoast on shitter.
Yeah, a shoast on shitter. Yep.
You shoast on shitter. Where I basically was, watching, just tapping to Twitter and seeing a lot of people saying, yeah, Trump now has done this. This is amazing. And I was like, Biden administration was so bad. So bad.
Yeah.
That Trump's not doing anything and it's looking amazing.
Well, what Trump is doing, he's doing quite a bit on the domestic side. We've never had a president hit the federal bureaucracy the way Trump is hitting the federal bureaucracy. People getting fired, agencies losing money, and it's you're going to set up a major court battle and probably lead to the impeachment of some of the judges, because judges can be removed for cause when they get so politicized. So he's doing, it really is. It's remarkable, and people are responding very favorably because they're making sure that FEMA is getting out and actually helping people. The news overnight is all this almost $60 million that was sent into New York City for the illegal migrants, and it was sort of illegally diverted. So they pulled that. So the domestic side, I'd give Trump a 7 or an 8. He came into office this time prepared to govern. Now on the international front, gets a 1. No higher than that. His comments about the Palestinians in Gaza are especially despicable. It is obscene what he's saying. Now, I think he believes in his own mind he's doing something for the benefit of the Palestinian people, but you didn't see it. It was just on television, unless you were in the other room watching TV instead of being here talking to me. But Trump was meeting with King Abdullah of Jordan and the Crown Prince, Abdullah's son, and talking about how beautiful it's going to be for the Palestinians to be living someplace else. That they don't want to live in Gaza because there's all this death and destruction caused by Hamas. Horseshit. The reason the Palestinians are suffering is because of the Israelis, these Zionists. It's despicable what they're doing. They're murdering civilians. That's the definition of terrorism. Israel is a terrorist state. And here's Trump excusing that and then pretending that they're going to, there's all these beautiful sites. Well, they're not built yet. So you're claiming that they can't stay in Palestine in Gaza because it'd take too long to build. It's going to take a long time to build. So they go to live elsewhere. Well, there's no place elsewhere prepared to receive them, number one. But number two, this is their home. This is their land. This is where they were born. Their fathers were born. Their grandfathers were born. Their great-grandfathers were born. Their great-great-grandfathers. Generations. Unlike these interloping Jews, European Jews, that come in there and say, this land is ours because God says so in the Bible, which we wrote. Yeah, I write a book.
It's kind of easy.
Hey, I'm entitled to your land too. I'm sorry, I really get exercised over this because what Trump has said is going to inflame the region. And he's now said Hamas has got to release all the hostages by Saturday or else they're going to regret it. What are they going to regret? Israel has been trying to destroy them for 15 months, couldn't do it. So, the war is going to start back up probably on Sunday. The war will expand. The Houthis are going to get involved. And then Trump and this is where his stupidity comes in. He's done some smart things on the domestic side, on the international side. He is not smart. That's becoming clear. He is a dummy. You think he's sophisticated and playing some 3D level chess. No, he can't get the checkers out of the box. So he thinks he's going to threaten and bully people to get his way. Ain't gonna work. So he thinks the Palestinians are not tough, resilient.
Well, they're still there.
Subject his family to what the Palestinians, just give his family a week of what the Palestinians have suffered over the last 15 months. They would be crying. They wouldn't know what to do. They'd be dying. So it's outrageous. Now, they're making a big news that King Abdullah said, we'll take 2,000 children. Now, the news media initially reported as 12,000. But they're going to take 2,000. Well, yeah, 2,000 kids that need medical attention because they either have cancer, malnutrition, or gun wounds from being shot by Zionist soldiers. And so, yeah, they're going to take those and give them medical treatment. That's 2,000. Well, you still got 1.8 million Palestinians. Yeah, this is just all show. Now, it's a shame Abdullah is such a weak man. He really is a weak man. And you watch him on this camera and his eyes are going, he's doing, God, it's distracting with the eyes. It's constant, so he's nervous.
Yeah, I was about to say that. The man is probably over some huge amount of stress to start, having the what's it called? It's not TOC, is the other one. I forgot the name in English.
What, the Trump derangement syndrome, or?
Well, yeah, that's probably it. But it's another syndrome, the one that people scream and
Tourette's.
Tourette. Yeah, that's which
syndrome.
I found out very recently that having this. We in Brazil we just call tic, but I just recently learned that this is also a low level of Tourette syndrome. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, perhaps Trump should think, since he's doing a good job internally, he should think about relocating the people from the Palisades on California to Mexico until it's rebuilt as well.
Yeah, go see how that would work out. Just tell those people, you no longer get to live in the Palisades. We're going to move you to some beautiful place
in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, that would go over well. That would go over well with those people who want, this is our home. This is where we've lived.
Yeah.
That is just it's heartless on his part, and he disguises it as if it's some great humanitarian gesture. It's cross-dressing. What it is for. It's political cross-dressing is what it is.
I like this term. I'm gonna steal it. Political cross-dressing.
Yeah.
I was reading on Truth Social the post that he wrote about this, and what called more, because being heartless and that's expected, but what called my attention was that that this is going to be a very slow process, and we're going to take our time to do a very good job. And while I was reading that, I was thinking, China is building buildings in like 15 days.
Yeah.
Why should the Palestinians vote for being rebuilt by the United States slowly and carefully, where they could have 15 days buildings?
Yeah. No, look, it's one thing to build temporary housing for people to create a tent city. So actually, the military can can do that pretty quickly. And, and really it would take a solid military effort, because with it comes creating sufficient water supply, sanitation, because when you get that many people living together, you got to have clean water and make sure they're not shitting all over the place. And so you teach them sanitary conditions so that they don't spread disease. But that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about building some permanent communities where they would move, pretending that there's no tie to them on that land, while accepting, without saying it, the Zionist nonsense that God gave this land to them. I don't believe that at all. I grew up believing that. I think it's a crock of crap. It is a lie manufactured by the people who had lived there. They got exiled to Babylon, to Persia, before it was Persia. And they took the oral traditions of their tribes and they wrote it down into a book, and all of a sudden it becomes a holy book. And because it's in a holy book, therefore it applies today. Nonsense. Enough with this crap. Particularly, it didn't say in that book that Jews born in Ukraine and Poland get to go live in Israel and boot people out who had lived there for generations, that it's their land. No. And the fact that we even entertain that as a serious proposition, it just shows the absurdity of the times in which we live.
Yes, exactly. I think the word absurdity of the times that we live it couldn't be better used. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. The time it's really crazy. And I remember I remember last week. That's a good news. Last week when we were talking about the Brazilian and South American, kind of ideology towards the United States, and then I saw you had an interview with Pepe Escobar,
yeah,
and he kind of confirmed that. He explained a little bit about that as well. And I see people really saying this, no, the United States is going in. They're going to build casinos, and the people, the Gazan people, the Palestinians are going to be croupiers, and they're going to work for the casinos. Other ones that still remains there, because we don't need that. We don't need that many croupiers. So some of them can go to Egypt or Jordan or whatever. That is no problem. It's all right. I've seen people, not just internet memes, people that I know saying that, that's the power of the United States. I was like, that's simply cruelty. You wouldn't enjoy that.
Look at what we did to the Native Americans in this country, in the United States. Again, the confiscated, pushed them out of territory that they occupied. And I don't want to present some sort of idealized vision of Native Americans were all these they were sitting around knitting sweaters
Singing Kumbaya.
and petting rabbits. And, no, I mean, they were killing each other. They were taking each other's slaves. That kind of division among the Native Americans, it was very tribal, and the tribes didn't share a lot in common. However, once the United States, pushed them out of their land, took control of the land, and then confined them to reservations. I mean, let's face it, Palestine, Gaza is a reservation or a large prison camp. Call it what you will. And the fact of the matter is that the Sioux Indians or the Cherokee or the Seminole on their respective reservations, they have more power and authority over their lives than the Palestinians do in Gaza. Just by way of comparison.
And this is amazing. This is a fantastic comparison, because what you just did is comparing something that happened 200-300 years ago to something that's happening in 2025. Where we have smartphones and people can see things real time, and it's happening now.
Correct. You said 200 years ago, dude. A little over 100 years ago, we're doing this. 150 years, tops. Yeah,
I'm saying. So Brazil's from 1500, United States 1496, right? If I'm not mistaken. The concept, the discovery, as they call it.
The quote discovery, but it's not really, you don't really start getting any kind of settlements of note until the 1600s.
No, exactly. Nonetheless,
so
the killing was happening.
We're talking 420 years of occupation.
Yeah. And nonetheless, 100 years ago, 70 years ago, it's happening now. Still, this is absurd. This is simply absurd.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I had put hope. But I had some, misplaced hope that Trump, in his vanity to be seen as the great peacemaker, would in fact embrace policies that might give the Palestinians a legitimate chance at life. But it's clear that he's not. Now, he's also, though, not catering necessarily to the Zionists, because the hardcore Zionists like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, Gaza is theirs. And Trump said, no, it's mine. It's ours. The United States, we're gonna control that. Well, that ain't in the holy book either. Well, we got, Trump's gonna introduce a new book to the Old Testament. It's gonna be called the First Book of Assumptions.
Well, he was selling Trump Bibles, wasn't he? Before.
Well, that's in another chapter. That's the book of Bolognians. Sorry.
Oh no! Please don't excuse yourself for making me laugh. This is the best part of my day for sure. Yeah. I have to recompose myself. I got criticized once when I posted one of our videos. Someone said, "You laugh too much," and I was like, "Well, it's kind of a natural thing.
It's a natural conversation. This is not scripted.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not taking ourselves too seriously. And if it's funny, good. If I can make you laugh, that's always part of my goal. To reach out to my inner comic, my inner Rodney Dangerfield.
Well, I was just watching the last episode of the year from Alex Cristoforo, and he said something that, when I started, I already told you the story. When I started because of Gonzalo. That was my big push was Gonzalo Lira, which, by the way, these days is anniversary of his dad, isn't it? In February, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure the precise date.
Yeah,
there is There is a video documentary coming out about Gonzalo.
Awesome.
I'm not sure how widely distributed it has been yet, but I've seen a version of it because I was interviewed for it.
Oh, awesome. They really should do. They really should do.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing, the day he posted the 3 videos trying to cross the border, I wrote to him in Twitter, say, dude, make it and please come talk to me. I really wanted to have had a conversation with him. Just 1 minute conversation, just to tell him, dude, you know, you inspired me. That was the only message I wanted to have sent to him. And just like me, I think he inspired many other people, many other people that I have known on Twitter. And well, I just see when comes the date, how many people that goes to Twitter and say, God bless you, Gonzalo, and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, Gonzalo was he was just a great personality and you know, clever mind. And you know, they tried to attack him for his previous social media presence because he was effective. And so the only way, when someone's effective, then you got to attack him, try to tear him down. You know, the biggest regret I have is that the day that he was trying to escape Ukraine on his motorcycle, he called me, so it would have been like at 9 a.m. his time and it was 1 a.m. my time. And I was in bed, phone turned off. I didn't get the message. He was wanting to talk to me urgently. I like to think that if we had talked, I might have been able to persuade him to, you know, go to Kiev and go to the U.S. Embassy and beg for protection. You know, just hoping that someone there would have had a shred of humanity. Instead, he proceeded to the border, was rearrested, and then put into jail for his led to his death.
Yes, although we know that people behind everything is also connected to the American embassy, I really do think that things would be slightly more complicated if it was becoming public that he was on the embassy. That would be a little hard to pull the trick of you know. He could be like Julian Assange, you know, just inside the embassy forever until it ends. It will eventually end.
No. Look, all the United States had to do is just tell the Ukrainians, keep your goddamn hands off of him.
Yeah.
Very simple. Because do it or else we're going to cut off all aid. Period. You don't get to do this to American citizens. And then the Ukrainians could have made a choice. Well, you know, there are a lot of things, but they're not stupid.
Well, corrupt people are usually not stupid.
Yeah,
that's my rule of law.
Yeah, they want to keep the money flowing.
Exactly. So just to conclude on this thinking, the last show of Alex Cristoforo, he said that he kind of tried to excuse himself by the times that he was not funny, but he said that, well, what I try to do is to bring a little bit of, you know, smile in the middle of tragedy. And that was always how I perceived. I take personally also Alex Cristoforo's work as one of my big incentives or my big role model for the channel. I still want to improve. I'm not good as he is, but I'm trying to improve. And every time I bring you here, it's a real good pleasure because I have this is one big show that I have the chance to have this very soft and relaxed conversation. So thank you very much for this.
I look at the Duran boys, Alex Cristoforo and Alex Makuros. They're sort of like a comedy team, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin, except they're more of a geopolitical team with a bit of comedy.
Yeah, because Alexander is also extremely funny, but he's British humor funny, Monty Python funny.
Yeah. Mikiros is much more. He's much lower key, and he doesn't have the drinking problem that Dean Martin had. And whereas I can see Alex Cristoforo more in the Jerry Lewis, role as being sort of the more outwardly funny. He always does see the humor, the irony in a lot of this.
Yeah. So yeah, just a pause for thanking you and the guys that have almost forced me without even knowing me to do this. But thanks to all involved in the creation of this channel. It's going to one day, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Larry, so I would like just to pivot a little bit to Russia. And of course, we're still talking about Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Trump, he's really not being very happy with his statements on geopolitics sites. How do you see these Russia statements that he made recently? Well, first of all, when saying that Russia, the Soviet Union helped the United States to win the war, that was not nice of him. And plus now it's very strange to me, and I would like to know from you if you know anything better than me, because Trump is saying that he had some conversations with Putin, and then we had Peskov saying that, well, did it happen? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So according to a couple of different sources, it looks like there were at least Putin and Trump have talked twice within the last week. So they've had two conversations. Trump, I think, is getting an education from Putin, because the things that have been said in public by Trump and his national security team, Mike Waltz and Marco Rubio in particular, reflect just a profound ignorance of what's going on in Russia. For example, Trump just yesterday, or the day before yesterday, remarked about how terrible the Russian economy was. And Mike Waltz said the same thing Sunday on, I don't know if it's Meet the Press or Face the Nation, one of those Sunday talk shows, that Russia's economy was just in tatters. Well, no, it's not. It grew 4.1% last year, according to the Russians. IMF and World Bank said, it was 3.8. Well, okay. 0.3%. Well, the fact is it's strong. Its problem is inflation, but it's not inflation like American inflation. U.S. inflation has been caused by creating too much money, inflating the U.S. currency, having so many dollars out there chasing concise number of goods, so that it's financially driven. The inflation that the Russians are experiencing is because the economy is so strong and people are earning more money, and as such, the demand is growing, and it is creating some strains on the system. But these are not problems for the Russian economy. So that's where there's off base, number one. And then they continue to insist that Russia suffered massive casualties, catastrophic casualties. They haven't. So the Russians are going to, just while we were talking, news broke that some American professor who'd been in Russian prison for the last 4 years because he showed up in country with marijuana, smoking dope. The Russians frown on that. They ain't big on recreational narcotics. So he's been released. So I don't know if that was just a Russian gesture of goodwill or if they extracted some concession from Trump, an agreement to, we'll let him go, lift the sanctions on our airplanes, lift the sanctions on our banks, do something. So we'll see what the other part of the deal was. the Russians hold the cards in this negotiation. Trump believes that he's got some leverage with the Russians, and once he finds out that what he was counting on for leverage is not, that he's at a disadvantage, then he's going to have to reassess his approach. But this much is clear. Trump is dumping Ukraine. So we've seen in the last week, 4 days ago, they informed the Brits, hey, you're now in charge of the Ukrainian Defense Group. Before, the United States used to take the lead on that. That way we ran it. And that's where we had, round up all the countries and tell them, you got to give this much aid to Ukraine. Said, nope, this is now a European problem. Michael Waltz, and on Sunday in the Sunday talks as well, the National Security Advisor reiterated that. This is now, Ukraine is now a European problem. It's something that the Europeans need to solve. And it's something that the Europeans need to finance. The only way the United States is going to send any more weapons or material to Ukraine is going to be in exchange for some rare earth minerals. They're going to have to buy it. They're going to have to actually provide something. The problem with all the rare earth minerals are really under the control of the Russians now. So this is it's a situation that Trump is making it very clear that we're done with Ukraine. In fact, it was also reported that at next week's meeting in Munich, that the United States in the past would make presentations about what needed to be done for Ukraine, what aid needed to be done. So next week, Secretary of Defense Hegseth not going to say a word. We're there to observe, to see what all these Europeans are going to say and do. So those, these are clear messages being sent to Ukraine.
You're fired.
You're done. It's over, baby. It's over.
Yeah, it's over, baby. And what was it yesterday, the day before yesterday, Ursula von der Leyen, she just, started speaking, the Ukraine should be taken care of by Europe, and Europe should take care of its own defense, and we should build an army of purple-haired people.
Go for it. Absolutely. Trump will be cheering them on all along.
Exactly. So here's how I see things going. Trump says we have a drug problem. Hey, Mexico and Canada, you put money on stuff and fix my problem. And then say, well, we have a Ukraine problem. Well, Europe, you put your money on stuff and fix my problem. That's, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
He's the president of the United States. Those stupid people from the European Union, and I would give credit to Sheinbaum, who actually kind of looked like she got some good deal. But even Trudeau, now he's talking, is being dancing. I don't know exactly, because I haven't seen this in the American news, but he's talking about putting tariffs on Brazilian steel. And I was like...
Yeah, well, they put 25% tariffs on all aluminum and steel imports. So I'm sure if it's coming from Brazil, it's getting tariffed.
So in this case, he went internal. So, okay, everything from everywhere, we have to pump our industry. I already said this before. I don't think the tariff stuff is a bad thing. We had this in Brazil. It was not awesome for us Brazilian, but, it kept the economy under a bit of control. Otherwise, you are competing with countries that have perhaps cheaper price, and then your industry is not going anywhere. And the United States kind of needs this industry back, at least some of them. So,
the tariffs, this is just a political gesture. It may generate some money in the short term. Long term, It can lead to a price rise. That's going to raise the price of imported steel 25%. Is that steel critical for industries, or is it a luxury? Is it something that's not necessary? If it's essential, then that's going to have an impact, because people, they won't be able to afford to go seek an alternative. They have to go for that. And it's not like there's a switch you can flip that will put the United States immediately on the path to producing its own steel. We've been shuttering steel plants in this country for 50 years. My dad was, he started off as a machinist at Sheffield Steel. And then Sheffield Steel was bought out by Armco Steel. And my dad finished his time at Armco as a maintenance supervisor, a foreman, as they call him. But he was forced into early retirement because they downsized the steel plant. And this was 50 years ago, 52 years ago. So, it hasn't come back. And so there are a few spots in the United States where they're still producing some steel, but nothing like what it was in the 1950s and 1960s when the United States was a powerhouse.
Yeah, we had this conversation before. And that's exactly the point. Once upon a time, on the 50s and 60s, as you mentioned, you could just graduated from high school and immediately jump into middle class by going to a steel factory or car factory. No big deal. The usual Homer Simpson, the guy has a technician diploma and a big house, 3 kids, all that. But at the same time, you do not snap your fingers and you have new steel factories all over the country pumping steel out of the furnace just like that. You need time.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a while. I was just checking the news feed to see if the Russians were reporting what they got in exchange for releasing this American Fogel. He showed up in Russia with medical marijuana, and he got incarcerated. They don't have anything yet up on at least RT's website. But I suspect there may have been, maybe a couple of Russians that were in prison here that Russia just said, okay, you give those back and we'll let your guy go.
Yeah, this is interesting times for political prisoners exchange. We already saw this last year with that basketball player, that woman. I don't know.
Brittany Griner.
Yeah.
She was traded for Max Boot, Victor Boot.
Yeah, they got the what's it called, the Merchant of Death back. They got Nicolas Cage back home.
Yeah. Well, actually, I've met Victor Boot. I think he's been unfairly and incorrectly characterized. The U.S. went after him as a symbol. They're going after Russia.
Do you know that he came? Well, I also broadcasted, but he came to the Art of War. Commander Farnazo. He had an interview with Victor Boot. It's in the channel. I'll put the link. I'll send you the link. Yeah, but it was in Portuguese because the dude speaks Portuguese. Yeah.
No, the Boot is, he speaks good English, good Russian. Guy's smart guy, and he was a symbol. They went after him in order to send, not because he was, the charge that he was trying to fund, armed terrorists. This was all a setup. They were looking for a pretext. Basically, he was asked if he would ship some weapons, which is what he did. That was his business. He was a freight forwarder. Now, is he likely a Russian intelligence officer? Yeah, I think so. A very competent one, very capable. He's not Dr. Evil, that's for sure.
What's it? Send the lasers. Dr. Evil style.
Yeah.
Larry, I think I have everything for today. Just one thing, and I think this should be, Trump should make this a NATO. This is very important, a NATO thing, not just the United States. Bring back the plastic straws.
Yeah, they brought it back. I heard Laura Trump. Now, so this may not translate well into like Portuguese, but she goes, "Yeah, boy, those paper straws, they suck." No, they don't. They don't suck. That's the problem. That's why they're bad. Yeah, that's the one item that we're talking about straws. Don't say that they suck, because if they're good straws, that's exactly what they do. They suck.
to be a little informative on that, Natalie Morris from Redacted, she made an amazing investigative work over paper straws. And I think everybody should watch that. That was very interesting about chemical process and all that. That's very interesting. Did you know that McDonald's here in Europe is green with the yellow M?
Dude, I made the mistake of I remember eating McDonald's 40 years ago, and I made a mistake about 10 months ago, saying, you know what, let me try a quarter pounder with cheese. I just try it again. Good God, it's like eating cardboard. Nasty. The McDonald's is, I don't understand how they stay in business, because their food, apart from the straws, the food sucks.
The straws don't suck.
Yeah, and the straws don't suck. So it is. It's a real estate venture. They own prime real estate here and there, but the food, you get far better actual hamburgers at Wendy's, at Burger King, or let's really go upscale to like In-N-Out Burger, Five Guys, which is really expensive but really good. Shake Shack, they do a good burger.
Five Guys just recently introduced here in Europe, and it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah. People like it because they've got a good business plan. They're actually, when you look at the McDonald's French fry, it's got like 6 or 7 different ingredients in a French fry. Wait, it's a potato. It's a fried potato. You got 6 or 7 ingredients in it. That's it's almost like a non-biodegradable potato. Okay. Jeez. Let's just, then that's what's nice about Five Guys. I mean, they cut up potatoes and, get them sliced
with the outside. With the skin. Yeah. I don't care. Bah!
And then they fry it up, and you get an actual real French fry. But yeah. So I've blasted. Fortunately, McDonald's is not a sponsor of your show.
Well, if he wants to,
dude,
as long as the straws suck.
Yeah, you ought to have some self-respect that there are certain companies you would not allow, you wouldn't take money from.
Yeah, especially USAID.
Yeah, well, that's what Trump is assuming, that Jordan and Egypt are basically Arab prostitutes. Okay, that they can be bought off. That U.S. money, or threat to withdraw U.S. money, will make them perform sexual acts that the U.S. government wants, except in this case, political acts that destroy the lives of Palestinians. We'll see what these countries are made of, if they have any self-respect left.
Yeah, this is well, I would tell you, I've been to Egypt, and it's already packed. It's a big land, yeah, it's a big country, but it's already packed.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, it's there's not some big beautiful community waiting for the Palestinians. Again, they're on their land. They don't need to be driven off. Their land needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah, for sure.
With them on it.
With them on and doing it and helping them.
Exactly. With them doing the rebuilding. They're not a bunch of freeloaders asking for a handout.
Exactly. And it should be paid by those who destroyed, just by the way.
Right.
LarryJohnson, my great friend, thank you very much for coming back again this week. This was, as usual, an amazing show here, and I had a lot of fun, and that's the best shows I had, where I had a lot of fun.
All right, Marcelo, muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay.